Hello, fight fans, and welcome to the Combat Challenge podcast. My guest is a featherweight MMA athlete who has had 9 fights with only 1 defeat. He trains out of Asylum Valetudo under head coach Danny Mitchell. Mr. Mujjy Ahmed. Mujjy, salamu alaikum, my brother.
Wa alaikum salam, Saif.
How you doing, brother? Nice to see you, man.
Nice to see you too. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm all right, Jazakallah. First, I'm going to ask you how you finding Ramadan and how you finding fasting.
Alhamdulillah, it's all right. I mean, we're almost halfway through. Finding it okay, to be fair. I'm not struggling as much. Still getting my training in. Yeah, it's going good, man. How's yours going?
It's going all right. I mean, the thing is, because Sari's up to like maybe just before 4 o'clock, and I kind of stay awake till like 12, 1 o'clock, and then I'll get up around about 8. So technically, it's only like 12 and a half hours when you're up and you're out and about and you're doing stuff.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not that bad. And also the weather's not hot, which is good. The only thing for me is when it gets to about 6 o'clock, I struggle with a little bit of a headache, because of dehydration more than anything else. That's the main thing that gets me.
I hope you've topped up on electrolytes. Are you having them yet?
Brother, I don't even know what that means. It sounds too technical. But what I have is coconut water. Is that what you're on about? Awesome.
No. Just go to. You can go to anywhere else to get electrolytes. And really, especially like you said, they're long days, man. Like we close our fast at 4 o'clock and we open at 8 o'clock. So what I tend to do when I open my fast, I have a date, bowl of fruit, but then I'll have like 500 milliliters of water, but with electrolytes. So like them Barocca tablets. You put them in and you just put it in water, and it kind of dissolves into it. It's like that, where that kind of boosts your fluid levels up quicker. So getting them, I'll send you a photo after this, so you've got it as well. But yeah, definitely, man, it helps.
And does it help make you feel less thirsty? Is that what it's for? Or?
It's not thirsty. It's just hydrate. People use it after weigh-ins as well, because I got introduced to it by a couple of guys at AVT when I was after the weigh-in, and like, oh yeah, you got to have electrolytes, and I was exactly like you. What's that? And they would turn around and go, obviously because you've been water loading and like having a fast before, it kind of just shoots your hydration levels up, so it just kind of boosts them up quicker. So yeah, man.
So when you break your fast, brother, do you do your iftari? So do you obviously get your kajur, and then do you have like 500 ml of water first?
Yeah, so I'll have my water first. Yeah, obviously, like you know how it works. Like your body can only consume like a liter every hour anyway. But I have like 500 milliliters, then I'll have my meal, then I'll have another 500 ml, and then I'll just through the day because what then after I'll go to train in about 11 o'clock, 11:30, after Isha prayer, and then I'll still be drinking water throughout there. And I'm like you, I'll get back about 1 o'clock, shower up, and then I'll have like an hour and a half cape, and I'll wake up for Sari, and then that's one thing I'm struggling. The sleeping pattern, it is tough. And I've been to wake up early again for like work and stuff. Luckily, I'm working from home, so it's not as difficult. But yeah, I think that's the thing, sleeping pattern at the minute.
I think for me, brother, the difference for me is I don't wake up for Sari, so I do my intention and then I go to sleep like maybe 1 o'clock, and then I don't wake up again because I know if I do wake up, it's going to mess me up. So I try to drink as much water, and I make sure I have at least a liter. So I have a liter, and then everything else is a bonus, and that kind of does me okay.
Yeah. I think you'll definitely, obviously, saying that 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you're finding headache and stuff. It probably your hydration levels. So I think that electrolyte might be a good shout, especially if you're only drinking a liter.
Yeah, true. And I'm a big guy, brother. I've got one too many curves, and that's why I'm all right for food. It's the water more than anything else.
Yeah, definitely, man.
But the crazy thing is, brother, it's like with everything. If somebody was to tell you to do this 2 weeks ago, I'd be like, I'm not doing that. I'm not having nothing to eat or drink all day. But it's just crazy. Your mindset, you're just fixed on a time like today. Is it 8:33 or something? So you're just fixed on that time, and you just do it, don't you, brother?
Of course you do, man. Don't get me, the first couple of days are hard, but like you say, your body's already kind of adjusted to it. I mean, we've been doing it for years now. I've been doing it for years. I'm guessing you have as well. Your body just gets used to that 1 month each year to sacrifice no matter what. It's that month, isn't it, where we just kind of value what we have and kind of appreciate the finer things that we have as well, the smaller things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, there's the religious side, there's the sawab, and there's the farz that you've got to do it. But also, there's the scientific side as well, where people are on about this intermittent fasting, and they kind of see the benefits from that, right?
Of course, there's a lot, and I've been looking into intermittent fasting because I'd normally tend to do that as well when I'm competing. Like in a fight camp, I'll do intermittent fasting. There's a lot of, like say, scientific research behind it that kind of supports it as well. Because like after so many hours, your body, because obviously at the moment, your body kind of breaks down muscle and fat to gain the energy, but after a certain point, all it does is to get the energy after it's consumed the food and there's no food to get the energy from. It targets your fat cells. That's why, and that's why I've felt a very big benefit this Ramadan, because of obviously things are starting to open up now. So we've got shows coming back up again. So like for me now, I'm trying to treat this Ramadan as like fine tuning. So as soon as Ramadan's finished, I'm already ready. So I'm not picking up onion bhaji as well yet. I've not picked one up this Ramadan. No pakore for me. And it's just simple. It's been strict. I've been on it, and I feel a lot lighter. I feel better. And again, fasting. People always say, "Oh yeah, but how are you going to be training whilst you're fasting?" Trust me, if you look at the research behind it, what fasting is and how we should do it. Like even before this, I was still fasting, but I was water fasting, so I was having water, like just food and stuff. Because people think you need food for energy, but trust me, sometimes you need to take that break from food as well, just to let your body just kind of have a full detox.
Well, you mentioned that about fasting and training. I remember when I used to train at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu before all this happened now. Gracie Barra in Bradford with Craig Tetley. And I used to go there in Ramadan and, in the evening time. But I don't know if it happened to you, brother, but for me, it kind of gives you like a heightened sense of like awareness of what's happening around you, and your movement is fluid and you're more slick. Do you kind of have that as well?
You know what? Before COVID happened, I used to be training in the morning as well. My routine was morning training, then go to work at 2:00. And I've always trained empty stomach. Or if I'd have something light, just like a yogurt or something. I'd always train because, like you said, I like to be light when I'm training. I don't like to be like. As soon as you've had something to eat, you feel sluggish, and especially like, if you're not having enough time for that meal to consume, you're going to be feeling sluggish. I always train empty stomach, and then as soon as I'm done, I'll carb up. And I've been doing that for ages, and that's what works for me. So that's why this fasting thing, when it happened, when I started doing it and I started looking into it, it kind of clicked, and it made sense for me to do it. And obviously, like and now applying it, obviously the month of Ramadan before, I used to. I mean, I speak for myself then, but like when I used to do Ramadan, obviously, like I said, we're religious and spiritually. But then, obviously, as you grow older, you look into it, and there's scientific research behind it. And it has shown to me that, okay, you know what, you're not just doing it for your religion, you're doing it for yourself as well.
Well, mashallah, you still look good, brother. You still look ready. You look similar to that other dude, Musa Christian. now that guy, brother, right? I've had him on the podcast, right? And he's local to you. He don't live that far. He's a similar weight.
He doesn't know.
Similar sort of record. Do you think your paths will meet eventually?
Well, it was funny you mentioned that. I think we was looking to meet. It was in COVID, before the pandemic. Dom was trying to get me and him to fight on Cade Steel, and that was the British title. Obviously, all this happened. Shows got cancelled, and then obviously nothing's happened of it. But I think it will. Like I said, it will be a good fight for both of us. Like you said, we're both at that stage in our career as well. And I think it'll be a fight that I'd like to have anyway. It'll be a good test for me, good test for him as well. And yeah, more than anything, I think it's that respect that we have between each other as well. Even before the fight was announced, I kind of knew him. Like you said, we're local. We've trained with people, like we have mutual people that we've trained with before. And yeah, I think it will. I think eventually it will. I think he's thinking about going pro now anyway. I think I want a few more amateur bouts before I want to just cement my amateur career with a title, and then looked at pros. And I think eventually it will. I'm sure he wants to continue going, continue progressing forward. And like you said, we are at that stage now. I think we probably will. Well, MMA, the small world.
Definitely, it's a small community. Now, your paths will meet, and when they do, the fans will really enjoy it because it'll be a great fight. But brother Dom Gibbs, yeah, that dude, right, is a businessman, right? And he knows, right, that you and Musa fighting, it's like two cash machines, brother, right?
Yeah, man, of course it is.
Media footprint and also the following that you both have is unbelievable, man.
Of course it is. And that's one thing, and that's my message to all fighters when they're coming up. your social media, your fan base, you got to sell yourself. And to be fair, I'm grateful for the fan base I have. Alhamdulillah, it's huge. And they've been there from day one. And to be honest, every day it's getting bigger because I'm putting the work in every day. I know where my goal is now. I know where I'm destined to be and where I'm heading. And I'm going to take everybody with me.
And you're right. Nowadays, brother, it's not just about working hard in the gym. You need to use these platforms. And mashallah, you're using the platforms to get yourself out there on social media. And that Musa Christian, right? The only thing he does on those platforms, he takes his top off. Right? He takes a couple of pictures.
To be fair, I'm guilty of that sometimes. So.
So you two might have to have like an ab checker competition.
Just a quick bodybuilding, like the dance off before.
Oh man, so when that happens, not if, but hopefully when that happens, I look forward to watching that. Now, brother, for you, you have had a varied martial arts career, not just in MMA, in K1. If it's okay, can you share with us from a young age how you got into martial arts, what got you into it, and talk us through that journey?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was into Bruce Lee movies, watching wrestling and stuff. You know, yeah, Prince Naz as well, with him being local. So I used to watch that kind of stuff, and I was interested in it. Luckily for me, though, there was a karate club like literally just down the road from where I lived, where I was growing up at the time. So my dad used to take me a few times when I was younger. We're talking about when I was about 7, 8, if that. And then eventually it come to a point where I just used to walk myself to the karate club. So I was there and I used to enjoy it. And I think also with my dad as well, being brought up in the 70s, Asian background, he was big on self-defense. Obviously, back then there was a lot of racism about as well. So he wanted to make sure that his sons were able to like get taught self-defense. And that's what it was. For me, there was no real intention to continue going or competing. It was just, even when I went later on, I started boxing as well at a local club in town. So when I started, about 11, 12. And again, I used to do, just wanted to know how to throw a punch. Back then, I was more interested in gaming. So for me, it was never really like, okay, I'm going to go boxing today and tomorrow, like my goal is to become an amateur boxer and then see where that takes me. That was never the plan. And then, yeah, I was getting comfortable. I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed gaming more. So that was more onto that side and socializing with my friends and stuff. And the mindset wasn't like, believe it or not, you're talking to a lad here now who's never been to a sports day event at school. And when I tell people that, they laugh because they think like, you look at you like you're the most, I'm not even, they say like you're most dedicated person that we know when it comes to stuff like this, but I haven't. I never attended a sports day. There was always an excuse that I'd make up. I was never committed to it, I suppose, at the time. But I did. But it was about in 2006. My cousin came back from a jiu-jitsu class. Jiu-jitsu was, nobody knew what jiu-jitsu was at the time. So he's coming back from jiu-jitsu. And I used to have a really good headlock because I was a bit of a big kid. And he goes, oh, would you get me in a headlock? I bet I'll get out of it, because nobody could ever get out of it. And back now, it's a headlock. That's the only submission we knew before jiu-jitsu. And all right, I'll get you in it. And I've got him in there and he's really tight. And then like, give it 10 to 15 seconds, he like slipped out of it straight away. I'm like, how's he done that? Like, he goes, oh, it's jiu-jitsu. I go, what's jiu-jitsu? He goes, oh, it's what? I go, is it UFC? Because obviously back then I was new to it. Like now, when people say to me, "Oh, Mujjy, do you do UFC?" I start laughing, but that was me back then. And it was like, "What's it, UFC?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's what they do on it's on Bravo at the time." I go, "Yeah, it's like what's on Bravo?" I go, "That's sick, that." And then he was into it. And then that was my cousin, and then he started. Then he wanted to branch out to Muay Thai because we both used to watch MMA quite a bit at the time, and that's when the UFC was on Bravo. And then it was Muay Thai, so it was two styles. So you have Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. I mean, we've done boxing before, but like now MMA was evolving, and you had like your combat sports like Muay Thai gym was slowly opening, becoming more popular around Sheffield as well. So he wanted to go to a club called Wicker Camp. I don't know if you heard of that. It's a very respectable gym in Sheffield. Imran Khan used to train out there. So yeah, Wicker Camp, and he wanted to go there, and I go, look, I'll come with you. I don't mind doing a bit, you know. So I went with him, my cousin, and he kind of stuck to it. I didn't. I was more into my gaming and stuff, and I wasn't really committed to it. So I did about 3 months there at the time, and he's continued with it. And then, like a year down the line, my cousin he still stayed with it, and he turns around to me and goes, Mujjy, we was in Meadow. I still remember that conversation. And he goes to me, he goes, oh, to have an MMA fight. I want to take it further, see how far I can get. And I turned around and I said to him, I go, look, like if anybody was to say that to me, I'd rather it be you, because he's like the most dedicated person I know. Like he was in it with everything. Like his mindset for his age was a lot sharper. Like he was thinking of an adult. Like he was 1 year older than me, but he was like an older brother. Like I'd always go to him for guidance and stuff. I go for it. But like 6 months later, we found out that he had cancer. So and then obviously he like kind of lost the battle as well. So he passed away when he was 16. He was young, so he was only a year older than me. So I was 15. So a bit of a tough time for me as well at the time, losing somebody so close to me. And I think that's when it kind of changed for me. I mean, I was in a bit of a dark place initially because I kind of lost a very like a best friend as well at the time. But like I always wanted to kind of keep his name going on, because I still remember what he said to me, and he goes, "Look, I want to do it." And I thought to myself, like, if I'm going to do something, let me do it for him. So now I went. That's when I went, and Brian Aiken, he was the guy that he was doing the jiu-jitsu from. As soon as I left school, I messaged Brian. I go, look, I'm Nakash's cousin. That was my cousin's name. I'm gonna come train with you. He was training with you, and as soon as I got there, Brian was he was just like, had all he was saying was amazing things about my cousin, how he was. As soon as I walked in, on the right hand side, there was a photo of Nakash as well that was there, and mashallah, for a 16-year-old, he was there. And he's saying about me taking my top off. There was a photo of him just laying, just sat down, top of mashallah, for a 16-year-old. He had an amazing physique as well, and he was on it like and then obviously, like, for me, that's the first time I actually did jiu-jitsu, and I fell in love with it. It was wicked. And obviously for me at the time, it was just to get that one fight in, just because I just thought, let's just, for him, just fulfill his wish, I'd have that one fight for him. But from there, it just stemmed, and like now I've continued with it, and it's hard for me to get away from that game now, because every time I go in there, it's not like I'm in there alone. It's like part of him is with me now, because I'm carrying him all the way. And like even before the fights and stuff, I go to his grave and I see him just before I go, because that's that link now between me and him now. I know he's gone, but literally he's there with me now, and that's how I see it. And I thank him for that as well, because of all of this happened, it's actually made me a better person, made me mature and more, like, more humble as well. I think that's what martial arts does. And had it not been for him, I would have never taken this route. I would have probably still been sat gaming somewhere. So yeah.
No, mashallah, Jazakallah for sharing that story with us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him the highest level of Jannah.
I mean.
So and then from that gym, which other gyms did you go to that you ended up at AVT?
Yeah, so when I went to Brian, I went to Wicker Camp as well. So I did both. I did my jiu-jitsu at Brian, and I did at Wicker Camp. I did Muay Thai at Wicker Camp. So I stayed there for about a year at both places. And then Brian ran into a few financial issues, but there was a gym in Rotherham. I think they were sanctioned with Eddie Cohn. You know, Eddie Cohn is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in London. There was affiliate with him, and I had a couple of people that I knew that were training there. So I went there, and they kind of knew of me as well, because I was fighting. I was in Rotherham, and I was like, MMA wasn't big at the time. But oh yeah, so you've done a couple, so they wanted me to fight with them. So I was training with there for about a year and a half, and then I went to university. But when I went to uni, I kind of took a step back from competing and training. I mean, I was still training because a couple of guys that were training at the gym in Rotherham, they were still fighting. So I'd still see them. I think I only had one fight whilst I was at university as well. But whilst I was there, I had quite a few fights on AFK show, with Farad show. So I kind of built like a good friendship with a couple of the guys that were there. And at that time when I was at university, if you remember, Farad had quite a few fighters as well that were uni students as well. So I see them about, because I remember I fought on an AFK show, and there was Ahmed Bilal on it, there was Khalid on it, Charles was there, Yusuf was on it, and Phil Crampton. They were all like students as well at the time. They were at AFK. So I kind of, once I was at university, I kind of took a step back away from training. But as soon as I finished university, like the gym in Rotherham, that wasn't there anymore. So I had to look for somewhere else. And for me, it made perfect sense to go to AFK, just because I kind of developed that friendship with people. Farad knew me, the fighters knew me. I mean, from fighting on the show. So, and I wanted to work my kickboxing as well. So I thought it was a good opportunity as well. So I was at AFK for quite some time. To be fair, I was at AFK up until 2018. But when I went initially, it was just kickboxing. So I went 2014 to about 2015. I had 2 kickboxing fights for AFK. So because that's all I was training. I wasn't doing any MMA or jiu-jitsu at the time. And then the couple of the guys that I was training with in Rotherham, they opened a gym in Maltby. In Rotherham, not in an area in Maltby, in Rotherham, so it's called Maltby, and it's called Maltby Fight Factory. So we used to get there. So eventually, I wanted to make that turn back to MMA, and a lad called Sai Lee, a very good friend of mine, but is like a mentor as well, a purple belt, and he was the one. So when we was at the gym in Rotherham, the sensei was obviously Mark Bottom, and there was John Keeley. But Mark then kind of went to Sheffield to train, but he was strictly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But then John stopped teaching, so Sai kind of took over. So Sai was kind of like a mentor for me after that. So like, he was like looking after my groundwork, and then I was doing my striking at AFK. And I was there for a good couple of years. And then in 2018, I moved to AVT, March 2018, I think it was. And I've been there ever since. And to be fair, it was a decision that Sai kind of proposed to me before, because he said it to me. He said also because Sai was a big lad, and he goes, "Look, I've took you to where I can take you now. Now it's time for you to just go in," because he's known Danny before. I think he's trained at a gym in Doncaster back in them days. And he goes, "I'll kind of let speak to Danny. I'll let him know that I've got somebody coming through." And that's exactly what it was. He kind of opened the door for me, and then I just did the rest after that. So I've been there now ever since. That's
really cool that he's kind of signposted you and said, "Look, this is where I can take you, and Danny's a really cool guy, and you should go train there." And that's the true essence of a cool character, right?
Of course it is. And to be fair, like, I even speak to him now, like at the moment, with obviously the COVID situation, is all the message to me is like, "Mujjy, I know you're probably not going to make the AVT today. Give me a shout. We'll get some work." And he's always been there. So have everybody else from AFK days. I mean, like Yusuf, you know who he is. He's opened his own gym now, Axon. He's always told me, "Mujjy, come down." So like during the pandemic, when the gyms were still open and stuff, just opening up again, I wasn't getting the sparring in, at AVT, just because of the classes at the time. The time of clashing with work, and he goes, "Mujjy, come down on Sundays, spar with us." And that's what I was doing. So I've got the options are there, and I've built that kind of that foundation now, where I've got different people now. So if I can't make it, because at the moment I'm working from home, and whereas before I was working in Leeds, so what I used to do is I used to every day wake up, AVT in the morning, straight from there 5 days a week, and then straight to work. But now it's like I'm probably going to make the AVT 3 times a week, and then the rest of it time try to get some training local, just because it's a situation that we're in at the minute.
And that shows the cool character of Danny Mitchell as well. Although you're under AVT and Danny Mitchell, but he's happy and he understands that you have to adapt during these times, right?
That honestly, that's one thing with Danny. Like, he doesn't give out praise for no reason. Like, you've been there, like some of the people that you'll see are white belts there, but you walk into any of the gym, they'll probably be like a top end blue belt. He doesn't give out his belts easily. Praise well. He's one of them. Like, you just if you can sense bullshit from you, like, he won't even like bat an eyelid to you. Like, fair enough. And that's what I mean by Sai introduced me to Danny, and I did the rest. I showed Danny, like, I'll turn up every day. I'll make sure I'm there. I'll do my bit. I mean, I used to come to sessions in the morning before, just do my conditioning stuff, like whatever used to settle and stuff. And that's kind of the image that I wanted to set, because I'm confident in saying I'm always going to be the hardest worker in the room, and I always show that throughout the year as well. I'm always disciplined, and right now I'm just so motivated that sure they're getting back on. I'm in a good place right now. As soon as Ramadan's over, I'm just going to just show people what I've been working on the last year and pick up where I left off.
It is, brother. It's exciting times. Now, one of the other coaches you mentioned was Farhad. Now, I remember you from your striking competitions, and I think I emceed one of your shows on...
I think quite a few, yeah, you did, yeah, because I was on AFK quite a bit. I think I had quite a few fights on the Farhad, yeah.
Well, on AFK with Farhad, most of his show was comprising of striking, so he had the other referee, or what was it called, John Blackledge?
John Blackledge, was it? Yeah, John Blackledge, yes.
That guy, man, his claim to fame is that he had a couple of fights with Chuck Norris back in the days.
Yeah. I mean, I heard that story loads of time. My father always bang on about it.
So, and then at one stage, Farhad decided to kind of take it to another level and have a couple of MMA fights on. And I used to be the MC. And Farhad once said to me, said, "Brother Saif, listen. You need to do your MCing, as you would do normally. But I need you to referee two of the MMA fights because we needed someone who's involved in MMA. And I'm like, brother, I'm the MC. So what you made me do, right? So I had my suit on, I had the waistcoat, I had the big suit on top, right? And I'd be like announcing, you know, fighting out of the red corner, waiting at 84, Mujjy, Ahmed. And then I'd take off my jacket, right? And
become referee.
Ref the fight. And when it finishes, whilst I'm sweating, I'm wiping my brow, right? I'll put my jacket back on. And the winner is Mujjy Ahmed. And Farhad made me do it. But because he's such a cool guy, man, I couldn't say no to him, man.
Oh, Farhad is, man. He's the funniest, one of the funniest, like up there, he's one of the funniest people I've met, man. He's a really good character, fun character. And that's another thing. Like when I spoke to Farhad about moving to AVT, like he was understanding of it. I think he knew that was going to happen at some point because he only taught kickboxing, and for me, I wanted everything in one. I didn't want to go to Maltby to my MMA and then go to him to do my striking. Now at AVT, it's all under one roof. But also, like you said, if I've got other options, well, so for example, if I can't attend, I can always go to one of my other mates, like Yusuf, for example, just do the striking with him, still get the sparring. But as long as my core work is with AVT in one house, that's what I wanted, and that's what I'm getting at the moment, and that's how it should be for me.
And once everything's back to normal, who are your kind of usual training partners that you spend time with at AVT that help you develop?
So that's the thing. That's one of the best things about AVT, and that's one thing when I walked into AVT, knew what I was missing at the other places. I've got so many sparring partners there. You've been to AVT. So before the lockdown, the morning classes I used to go to, we used to train in the morning. That's what all the fighters were at as well. So there used to be me, Kiru, Pav, Louis, Staff, Jack, Holt. These are like guys, Mawit, Bramwell, you name it, like they were all there. They're like my main partners. And on Fridays, just the mats are always full anyway. You name, everybody was there. But they're like my core. Like, so I still spend like Kiru and Pav, even during this pandemic, would still meet up, still drill, do a bit of work and stuff. I think they're I'd say the two that I spend the most time with. But I'd say the rest of the people I mentioned, they're like when the class is on, everybody's there. There's none of them where you're going to turn up and there's nobody else on the mat. Everybody wants to succeed in that gym, so you're always going to get them partners. And we're all between bantamweight and featherweight. So the people that I mentioned, and they're the people that I'd be training with. And that's going back to what I was saying about training partners. When I was at AFK and Maltby, I was probably one of the lightest ones, especially with MMA side. So for me, like I wasn't okay. Although it's always good to be rolling with bigger guys, probably not the best sparring with bigger guys. But now, as soon as I've got to everything, I realize, like, yo, hold on a second, like this is wicked. Like I'm getting some. Because don't forget, it's good having the training with sparring with guys your own weight, but the different body shapes. Like some are short, stocky, some are tall, some like, and then bring something different. Like Louis, for example, Louis' striking is phenomenal. Like he's come from a Muay Thai background, and then obviously you've got Kiru, who's good, a level changing. Pav, who's one of them who'll just grind it out. He's got a very good work engine. So everyone brings something different to the table. And that's why it's so good. Like as soon as someone says, oh, Mujjy, you're fighting this person, straight away you're like, okay, well, we've got somebody in that gym who can tailor that kind of put on that kind of style, or who fights like that. This is who you're going to be drilling with. And that's the beauty of it. And that was what I realized, that something that was missing from my game before, not having them people to train with.
I mean, those three names that you mentioned there, there's a reason why they call him Louis Lightning Scott, you know, because he is, I've seen some of his fights from a young age, he's been competing. And then you got Kiru, who's tall, but really light and slim, you know, so he's got a different angle. And Pav, like you said, he likes to grind. So it all works out for you, right?
Of course it does, definitely, man.
Now, your last fight, brother, was on Cage Steel Promotions, and it was against Anthony Craney. What did you know about Anthony Craney, and can you talk us through the fight itself?
Yeah, so Anthony Craney, from what I've heard of him, what I've seen of him, the guy can bang. He's got a really good striking. He's good. He's just bare knuckle. There's a bare knuckle fight. He's done it all, hasn't he? I think he's had a shitload of fights. So I knew it was going to be one of them fights where I could actually want to kind of test my stand up as well. So it'd be a good opportunity as well. I think the timing as well wasn't the best because obviously like it was a COVID, and that I remember the day before Boris had that announcement. So like, I was thinking, am I even going to get to fight? Am I going to? And then obviously fights were getting cancelled. But fortunately for me, the fight went on. And as the fight went on, I was comfortable. As soon as the striking, I was expecting to throw a bit more shots. But I think he was, as soon as we touched the glove, I threw a leg kick, and I think I caught him off straight away. And I was comfortable with it. As soon as I managed to close the gap, I thought I did enough, took him down. And then as soon as I took him down, I knew it was just ground pound going to do him. And it'd be over. And I think the best thing about that fight, I had Frank Mir commentating as well. So that was a bonus as well.
Wow,
The legend himself.
Mir, man. So was Frank Mir at Cage Steel?
Yeah, he was at Cage Steel, that day. Yeah, so I had Frank Mir
Gibbs has got
commentating.
some contacts, hasn't that Don Gibbs?
Definitely. Well, Frank, I think that was through Danny, because Frank's come to the ABT before. They'll do seminars. So, yeah, I think Danny was behind it. But, yeah, when Don pulled it off as well, got him down. So, yeah.
Brilliant, man. Now, are you competing, obviously before all this COVID stuff was happening, were you competing in no-gi tournaments? And if so, what was the mindset of competing in that and doing MMA?
So, yeah, I started no-gi in 2017. That was my first competition. And to be fair, I think I gave it one solid year where I was doing no-gi grappling. And I think instead of, I've not done a gi one. I think the reason I did no-gi is because it's more applicable to MMA. That's why I did it. And I've only started I put the gi on, but I've started putting it more on recently. But I do enjoy it, and I think I will do some gi competitions going forward once we're out of this pandemic and tournaments start opening. Because I think what I've realized with the gi on, if you can escape a gi, you can escape no gi. It's there's two, and people think they're very similar, but they're not. They're very much different. They're total opposite. But yeah, 2018 was a very active year for me, believe it or not, in the no-gi scene. I think I had about four or five tournaments. Nice. I had 3 silvers and 1 gold, and then one I did the Empire, which won. Won the first one, and I got before the lost out on the bronze. So I did. It was a busy year for me, 2018, but that's the last time. In 2019, I didn't do any, and then obviously 2020. I was planning on doing them, but like you said, the COVID thing happened. But yeah, I think going forward, I think I would like to do most like super fights and stuff. I think they're getting big at the minute. I think the reason why the tournament stuff are putting me off another bracket, it's just the cost. I think sometimes you go in and sometimes you can go there and it can just be one person that have to move you up or down weights and stuff. And I think that's what kind of puts a lot of people off as well. So I think whereas the super fights, that's different. You just train for that one person. It's going to continue. It's not points as well, because sometimes you have it and some people just hold that position just for 5 minutes. You see it all the time. So yeah, submission grappling maybe as well. So that's something I will go into. And I think even the long term as well, it's sustainable. Whereas you're not getting punched in the head. So yeah, I think that's something that I will be going definitely, even when I decide to think, I've had enough of getting punched in the head, and decide to put the gloves away. I think for me, jiu-jitsu is going to be something long term, and like my goal, everybody that knows long term is going to be wanting to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Well, somebody once said, and I saw it on a clip where they said, 10 years from now, you're going to be somewhere, right? So wherever you are, why don't you be there and be a black belt as well? So you might as well get that.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely, man. That's my plan. I mean, I've got it all. I've already got it in plan, and within the next 10 years, that will be the plan. I mean, in the next 5 years, I like to see myself working as a strong purple going to a brown, and then we'll see. But like I say, you can't put time on that kind of stuff. What I can do is put the time and effort in though, and hopefully that'll pay, and I'll get rewarded for it. But we'll see.
For sure, brother, for sure. Now, you've had quite a few fights, brother, and out of all those fights, has there been anyone that has been quite memorable and rewarding? It could be some sort of adversity, weight cut, injury, whatever it was, that at the end of it, you thought this was such a rewarding fight. And if you can think of one, can you share that with us, brother?
Yeah, I think the one that stands out for me the most as well, because it has a lot of mental, sentimental value to it as well, is the one which I had at Sheffield Arena. Reason being, well, 2 things. I remember training. It was initially supposed to be against another guy, one of the fighters from Fourth Dimension. And like 2 weeks before the fight, Danny told me, your opponent's got injured, but don't worry, we'll get you another opponent. And what was different about this one is the guy was southpaw. So like all my training, I was working a lot with our boxer coach Stu, and we were working a lot of southpaw stuff, like specifics. And then obviously that changed, and then it changed to somebody who was 6'3" in featherweight and totally different, long build. And obviously that for me, that was the first time I think, I've just been doing something for so long. But then obviously the fact that I was fighting in Sheffield Arena, he's a young kid. I remember going to see many shows back, and then I'm wrestling back in them days. I watched it in Sheffield Arena, boxing, and now to be there, having my friends and family coming to watch me there, was for me, it was like I say, it was a dream come true. But but also I knew in the back of my head, like, this is the beginning of many things to come. That's how I saw it. It was a good fight as well. I think the challenging part also was the fact that I just finished Ramadan as well. So very similar. It was right a similar time to this. So we finished Ramadan. So my fight came back. He started in Ramadan, and we had like 4 weeks after Ramadan finished. So I was training, and then also I joined the guys at ABT the last 3 weeks of the fight camp, and I felt good going into it. Like because we've got like a strength and conditioning program that we all follow. And we've got a group, and then we put our scores in. And to be fair, my scores were really good as well. So I felt good. I felt like, okay, Ramadan not probably took as much of effect as I thought it would have done. But like the first and second round, I felt comfortable with it. But the third round, I remember just getting out or getting to the corner for the third round. I felt really lightheaded, but I didn't take any hits or anything. It was just like I just felt like lightheaded, but I was gassing as well. I'm thinking, what's happening here? Like, I should be comfortable with this. Like, I felt good coming into it, but it wasn't. I just knew it was Ramadan as well. Like, just obviously not having the nutrients throughout, and then only having like a solid 3 weeks with the rest of the guys. But I somehow grinded out the third round, got the win in unanimous. But I took some shots that I shouldn't have taken just because I knew I was just with myself, with the fitness not being on my side at the time. Third round, going in with like literally doing nothing in the tank, just wanting to just get it out, or get out with a win. So that for me was the most rewarding fight, just showing that I had the courage to get through no matter what hurdles were at the time as well. Obviously with Ramadan, but I think going forward now, I took learning from that as well. I think as much as I wanted to compete, going forward, I think I'm going to just wait enough time now as well. Just make sure I have at least 6 weeks after Ramadan to get a train, rather than just rush straight into it after, as much as I want to get in there. But that for me, yeah, was definitely most rewarding fight, just because it was something now I can keep. Because I drive past Sheffield Arena quite often. I mean, it's not far from me, and it's like you've had some big shows there, you've had big events there, and to say that I've been there as well and I've competed there, that for me means a lot.
Well, like I said, brother, even though you had 4 weeks or 3 full weeks after Ramadan, mentally you might have thought, I'll be okay. But the learning you got from there is your body is still depleted, and it needs time to kind of get to a sense of normality before you can push it any further, right?
And that's the thing that we don't realize, because we've been doing it for so long. Because obviously in summer, we've had Ramadan in summer for quite some time now. But you got to remember, we're fasting for 15, 16 hours a day, and for 30 days straight without water. Because people ask, oh yeah, we can drink water, but no, there's no answer is no water as well, and it's in summer. And you're right, and I think that's what it was. I mean, I felt good, but it's one of them, and I think it's a learning that I've taken from it. Alhamdulillah, I got the win. That was the most important thing, another win to my record. But yeah, going forward, definitely it's learning that I definitely will be taking on board.
For sure, brother. Now, some people might not be aware of this, but mashallah, you've done quite a bit of charity work, and you've done some work for the victims of Lebanon. Can you tell me how that came about and what was your involvement in it?
Yeah, so we're just going to go back to the beginning of this video call when you mentioned about Musa. It was actually, I was August. That's when we were planning on. I was planning on fighting. Then that's when the original date was set. And then obviously the COVID thing happened, and they were still not allowing events, so obviously KTL cancelled. So at this point, like I was like in peak condition because I was still training. I felt really good. I was doing a lot of work with my strength and conditioning coach, and that's when I heard the news. I'm like, okay, I need something else to like motivate me now. And there was nothing. And then like a couple of days later, I've seen the news about obviously the explosion that happened in Lebanon. And at first, I'm not going to lie to you, like I'd kind of like had a blind eye. I didn't know what it was. I thought, oh, it's probably something else. It's what happened in the Middle East, propaganda and stuff, blah blah blah. Because that's the seed that the media's planted in everybody's head, and this is coming from a Muslim as well. And obviously, the more as it came on social media, and this is why social media is an amazing, it's a powerful platform. I was more videos I was watching, I realized like, okay, this is not a terrorist attack. This is an actual explosion that's happened. These are people that have been affected. And I was looking at the numbers of hundreds and thousands of people were homeless, thousands passed away. And It was, and the videos were really touching as well. I mean, I remember watching a video when the explosion happened, and you can see like in the apartment there was a CCTV footage of it, and there was a child right in front of the window. And just before the window falls, luckily the maid just gets the child away, and then the window comes. And obviously, in my head, I was thinking, okay, that's one video. Well, obviously the kids survived, but there's many other where unfortunately they wouldn't have, because obviously that's the magnitude of that explosion. It was a big one. And then obviously after you looked at the aftermath and the videos, I talked about what can I do. And obviously, like I said, I was training and I felt good. And I thought, coming from the background that I'm coming from, let's run a marathon. Well, at first, I initially thought half marathon. I thought half marathon, but then I looked at it and I thought, half marathon not going to be challenging whatsoever, because I think I could do that pretty comfortably coming from the background outside. I thought I'd do a marathon. And I want to do it pretty quickly as well. Luckily, I have a friend called Will, who's is like a season runner. He does quite a bit. He's done loads of marathons, but been in different countries as well to do the marathon like Barcelona and whatnot. And I've messaged him, and he just come back from holiday as well at the time. And he goes, okay, he goes, you know what, Mujjy, I'll do it with you, because he was supposed to run a marathon, I think the London marathon, and it got cancelled. He goes, I'll do it with you. And he's got his own YouTube channel. He goes, look, I'll do it with you as well. I go, okay, that's even better. So for me now, I've got somebody who I only asked for advice, but then he's also gone on to say, Mujjy, I'll do it with you. And for me, that was reassuring, because I'm doing it with somebody now who's does this for a living. So for me, it was brilliant. And I told him I wanted to do it in 4 weeks, and he started laughing. Mujjy, let's do it in 16 weeks. I go, that's what I normally take people to get ready for marathon. I go, look, I don't have 16 weeks. I mean, this has happened. I need to get it out. The cause is there. And I can't wait 16 weeks. I need to get it. Go, okay, you know what? Let's be realistic. We'll give it 6 weeks then, because don't get me wrong, it's going to be a tough challenge though. I go, all right, that's fine then. So so he gave me a program to follow. And then I've got in touch with one of my friends that I work with as well. And that's because he did quite a bit of charity work not long ago, but prior to that. And I go to him, look, I need to send me a GoFundMe page, somebody who's going to be 100% donation policy. And he goes, yeah, that's fine. We've got somebody for that. And so I've looked into the charity as well. The charity was it's like I said, it was a respectable one as well, seeing some of the work that they've been doing. And even up to this date, they're still messaging me as well. So inshallah, one day my goal is to like go out there and actually help myself as well, be at the forefront as well of it. But yeah, so we've planned, we've done the marathon. So Will's like sorted out the routes. He's told me like, we need to get these gel, these are the running shoes, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I didn't think there was this much preparation. I had to go into it. So like, yeah, there's me doing it, and I'm doing like 60 kilometers a week. The good thing about the preparation for me was it was chilled, because like obviously I'm coming from MMA back when we used to hit high tempo, red zone running and stuff like that. Whereas he goes to me, goes, Mujjy, you're doing a marathon, just do steady runs. And for me, that was wicked. I'd put a podcast on and I'd just run, and it was brilliant. And obviously for me now, it's come to a point where I can run all day. For me, it doesn't matter. I used to run every morning, so I kind of enjoyed it. But what I was doing at the time, at the beginning, I was still doing my MMA training, so my workload was still quite a bit. So what would happen, I'd be probably sparring one day and I'd get a niggle and it'd affect my running. So what I did then, like 4 weeks prior, I stopped all jiu-jitsu, all MMA, all boxing, just in case I picked up any niggles and stuff. And then not many people know this, but like 2.5 weeks before, I contracted COVID as well. So like I had the symptoms as well. So I was so I couldn't do like the last week block properly, of the routine, the workout that he sent me. I couldn't finish them off. And so as soon as I finished self-isolating, 2 days later, I'm running the marathon. So got out of self-isolating. I've done a run. I only did a 5 kilometer just before. I thought I'll just get 5 kilometers in. And then I've done it. I thought, okay, I'll be all right with it. And then, next day, done the marathon. It was tough though. Like he did say to me initially, he said, Mujjy, like you'll be fine with 30 kilometers, but it's 30 kilometers when people start, like struggling. And that is, you hit like a wall when you get 30 kilometers. It's going back to what I was saying initially as well, about fasting. About fasting before, and then going train like you train on training on an empty stomach. So I was doing the same. So we did a trial half a marathon before the marathon. So I'll go back a little bit. I might kind of skip this bit. And I did the half marathon fasting. And he goes, Mujjy, you might want to be careful with that, because you've got to remember you're using a lot of energy for this half marathon. It's the half marathon we did it under 2 hours. You've got to remember you basically use 2 hours worth of energy. I go, look, I've done it. This is how I did it. This is how I've always been training. I always like to do everything on an empty stomach, then eat. He goes, all right, if that's what you're comfortable with, just fine. Just make sure you hydrate and make sure you take your gels. And then the next week, he told me to do a 30-kilometer run, this trial, and I got to like 29 kilometers. The same again, I did it faster. I got to 29 kilometers, and honestly, like my vision was going like black and then white, and it was like it was really weird. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I think it is because I'm not eating. Because when you let sugar levels low, you feel really drained. That's how I was feeling, and I was hit 29 kilometers, and I was outside my house. I was bang on outside my house, and I thought to myself, I can either just go inside or I can finish it off. And I thought, you know what? I need to finish off mentally because I cannot say I've done 30 kilometers because I'm one of them. Like I know it's going to be like, okay, maybe that day it wasn't the marathon, but I know he told me to do 30 kilometers. I'm going to get 30 kilometers done. So I walked the first 2 minutes because it was really bad. And then I just finished the last kilometer off. And I've got home and I was fine. I've made some porridge for myself, knocked some porridge back. And literally 10 minutes, I'm puking it up. My sugar level was so low. My missus went to the shop and she got me some Lucozade. Felt better after that. And that's what it was. It was go to running on stomach. So the week after that, it was the last long run before the marathon, and he told me to do a 35 kilometers. So I made sure I fueled up before that run, and the 35 kilometers was a piece of cake. And then I did the same for the marathon. But like in the marathon, we wanted to hit under 4 hours. That was, there wasn't really a target. I just wanted to get the time. But like in 35, when we hit that 35, 36 kilometers, my left knee kind of gave in. I think the videos on YouTube, the left knee kind of gave in, and we had to like stop for a little bit. So like we like kind of like did a very steady jog. So that kind of put us behind schedule. But I think we ended up doing it at 4:10. But the route that we did was Sheffield, and it was very hilly. If you've ever been to Sheffield, it's not one of the flattest places. So I think he wants to do the London Marathon, and I've said to him I'll probably join him on it. A London Marathon is very flat, so I think I'd need to be able to get some forward on that. But yeah, we raised £2,500, also £2,500. The people that the charity that we chose, they sent me footage of the things that they were doing, the food that they were providing for them, the shelter. And alhamdulillah, we helped a lot of lives. Not obviously, it wasn't just my cause, there were other causes as well that were around it. And then they sent out a party to help people. And for me, what I wanted to do, I achieved it. And I couldn't have done it obviously without the people that were donating as well. So if they're watching this, I just want to thank them as well.
For sure, brother. Now, one of the things you mentioned is about preparation, and it is important to prepare. And I'll give you an example because me and a good friend of mine, Steve, we decided to do the 3 peaks. Now, in a big thing, we've never done anything like that before, but we thought, oh, we'll be all right. We'll buy some boots and everything will be fine. And then the guy who was taking it said, no, you need these gels. You need a whistle. You need a head torch just in case you get stuck there. And I'm like, what do I need a head torch? But it all made sense, so you need someone to give you that guidance, right?
Definitely. And I wouldn't have done that without Will. I wouldn't have been able to do it. Like the shoes, the running trainers that he told me to get. Like prior to this, I used to wear normal Nike Air Runs, the Nike running shoes and stuff. And he told me to buy these Ghost 13 shoes. And they're my sprint shoes, they're my running shoes, whatever. They're the most comfy shoes ever. They're really light. And it's like, it's a wicked investment. So like long term with us, I'm still using them to this day. And he's told me about socks. But you know that there's a specific socks as well for running. They're the most comfiest socks, and I've got a load of pairs of them now. And I wear them in the house just because they're that comfy.
Well, I got some socks which had a bit more cushioning, but the guy that went with us, he had like compressing socks.
Yeah, that's what they are. Yeah, they're about £11 a pair. £11 a pair, but they are so comfy. They even tell you which foot to put it on the right and left as well. They're pretty cool. Yeah. So on the right sock it'll say R, on the left one it'll say L. So it'll tell you. So you can't get your socks on the way around. I haven't seen
anything like that on any of the socks that I bought from Primark.
Bro, you got upgrade now, mate. Trust me. Once you won't want to turn back to Primark once you get there. Like I remember, I just got that pair, and then straight away after the run, I got like three more pairs because they're just so comfortable as well. Like I just walk around with them in the house as well. They're comfortable. Trust me. And then I've got another mate that from AFT, Brad, and he's into his running as well, Brad Kittrick. And he messaged me, he goes, Mujjy, right, mate, they're the comfiest. He goes, I've got loads. And I think it is. I think once you wear them, there's this thing, you just won't go back to. It's like Heinz beans. Once you try Heinz beans, you won't try any other beans. It's like that.
No, you're right, brother. Now, one of the things out of all that story that you told me, right, just then, that made me giggle inside, and that was, after you've had your porridge and you spuked up, and your missus had to go, and the first thing she gets is Lucozade. Us brothers get Lucozade for
Desi cure, isn't it? Desi cure. Honestly, man.
You get Lucozade, brother.
It's all Lucozade, man. Lucozade. Lucozade and paracetamol. You wake up tomorrow, you'll be all right.
They're the ones, brother, man. They're the ones. Universal them.
Definitely.
Now, brother Mujjy, Jazakallah, I really appreciate you spending time with us and sharing all your stories with us. And inshallah, I look forward to having you on future podcasts, my brother.
Definitely. Thank you, Saif, and thank you for having me. And thanks for everyone that was listening.